Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 238. Are you ready to die? I was talking to one of my 9 children this past Saturday, and the child said to me, "Hey, Dad, can you get me to confession? I want to go to confession." I said, "Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, I'll get you to confession." So we went to confession, and we were just talking about things. And after confession, this said child said to me, "Thanks for taking me to confession. I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm not ready to die." And so I thought that was a really mature viewpoint from a child who's not, I mean, they are the age of majority, but not completely the age of majority. They partake in the sacraments, but are you ready to die? And so this child rightfully pointed out that if you have sin on your soul and it's non-confessed sin and you didn't do penance for it, that your soul is in mortal danger. Meaning that if you die and you have mortal sin on your soul, or something that you perceive that you're not really certain if it's mortal or not, that you probably should get the confession, because if you get the confession, then you have the capacity to make all things right with God in case of your untimely death. Because sometimes, you could be walking across the street and bam, you die, or, could have a cardiac arrhythmia and then boom, you drop dead and die. And so when a 14-year-old child says, I always want to be in the position where I'm ready to die, this is kind of a challenge to all you older people out there, people that are more mature, more life experience credits, and should be better catechized than, say, a child. Are you ready to die? Do you have mortal sin on your soul? Because mortal sin is, it's just not murder, and it's not stealing and theft and adultery. Mortal sin is a lot more subtle than that, and that's why you probably should speak to a priest, maybe get the confession. But even gossiping is bearing false witness. Is that a mortal sin? Well, I'm not certain. I suppose it depends upon the circumstance. But if you're determining what's mortal and what's venial based upon your own desires, wants, and mores, you may be wrong. And if you're wrong, then, well, perhaps you won't be ready to die. And so this is a challenge to everybody out there. Are you ready to die? Think about your own lives. You could subtly steal from somebody, and say, "Oh, it's okay. It's only $1," or something like that. Or you steal something from the store, accidentally don't pay for it. Oh, it's only a couple bucks. I'm not going to go back. This kind of stuff, you don't want that on your soul. You want to be completely honest your entire life. And there are other things too, by the way, that are even more obviously sinful, that people kind of hold in their own hearts and they don't want to go to confession for. But I would persuade you, if you are in a state where you know you're not pure, right, where you actually have sin on your soul that you objectively did against what you knew it was wrong, that you should go to penance, because you should be ready to die. And so that's one of the doctrines of faith of the Catholic Church, that if you die with mortal sin on your soul, you certainly could go to hell. And so this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Always be prepared to die. Always try to get your soul in a complete state of purity. And by the way, that doesn't mean to be scrupulous, because that's a sin of pride as well. If you constantly beat yourself up, there are things that, so let's say you're driving down the highway and there's a beautiful woman on a billboard, you do a double take, right? That you're starting to get a little scrupulous there. Or, the kids speak back to mommy and mommy, says sharp words to them and has a little bit of anger. That's being a little bit of scrupulous, because life does exist. And sometimes you do things that aren't right. Those are venial sins, but you can't hammer yourself for living. But you do have to know, if you objectively did something against your own will, that you probably should get to confession. So, mortal sin is obviously bad. Venial sin is obviously bad. Scrupulosity is actually bad as well, but in the other direction. So you have to have a balance in your life. You actually have to learn to live your life, and you can't beat yourself up for living your own life, because sometimes, raising your voice with the kids, boy, is that a mortal sin? No, because it's necessary a lot of the time. And so if you start beating yourself over that, you kind of paralyze yourself, and you're unable to live your life in an ordered way. If you're constantly, every time you open your mouth, you're thinking, could I be sinning? Maybe I'm not sinning. I don't know if this is right. No, you kind of have to take a position on things, and you can't be beating yourself up too much. Anyway, this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. please place yourself in a position where you're ready to die and get the Mass, pray the daily rosary. And oh, by the way, do go to confession regularly. Thank you. God bless you all.